Did you know that around 48 million Americans get sick every year from foodborne illnesses? And sadly, more than 3,000 of them die, many of them older adults. According to the CDC, seniors are especially at risk because their immune systems just aren't as strong as they used to be. But here's the scary part. A lot of these illnesses don't come from sketchy takeout or eating out. They actually start right inside your own fridge. Yep, that fridge you trust to keep your food fresh and safe could be doing the exact opposite. Shocking, right? New research shows that storing certain foods the wrong way in the refrigerator can lead to food poisoning, a loss of important nutrients, and even dangerous chemical changes in your food. The worst part? Most people don't even realize it's happening. So if you're wondering what's lurking behind that fridge door, stick around. You might be surprised at what you find, and it could make all the difference in protecting your health. If you've been tossing fruits, veggies, or pantry staples into the fridge without a second thought, it might be time to hit the brakes. Some of these everyday foods actually become harmful when chilled. And the top item on this list, it's downright shocking. Not only does it lose its health benefits, but it can also form dangerous compounds just from being in the cold. So stick with us till the end. This isn't just about keeping your food fresh. It's about protecting your health and possibly even saving your life. But before we jump in, drop a comment below and let us know where you're tuning in from. We love hearing from you. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more eye-opening tips just like this. All right, let's dive in. Number 9, potatoes. Let's kick things off with a kitchen favorite, potatoes. Most people just toss them in the fridge without a second thought, but here's the truth. Refrigerating raw potatoes can actually make them harmful to your health. Here's what happens. When potatoes are stored in cold temps, the starch inside them starts turning into sugar much faster than normal. That might not sound too bad at first, right? But here's where it gets scary. When you cook or bake those chilled potatoes, especially at high heat, those extra sugars can react with amino acids and form a chemical called acrylamide. Now, acrylamide has been linked to cancer in animal studies, and scientists are still digging into what it might do to humans. So, yeah, keeping your potatoes cold might seem like a smart move, but it could be turning your go-to comfort food into a real health risk. And it doesn't stop there. Sticking potatoes in the fridge doesn't just mess with their safety, it ruins their texture too. They can turn grainy, mushy, and even take on a darker color, which is a clear sign of oxidation and nutrient loss. So instead of that warm, hearty bite we all crave, you end up with a sweet, soggy mess that might even be harmful once cooked. Ever wondered why your roasted potatoes tasted strangely sweet or had a weird texture? Yep, your fridge might be to blame. Potatoes were never meant for cold, damp storage. What they really need is a cool, dark, and dry spot to stay fresh and firm. So if you've got a bag of spuds chilling in your fridge right now, do them and yourself a favor. Take them out before they turn into a hidden health hazard disguised as dinner. Number 8, bread. Next up is a cozy favorite that's a staple in just about every kitchen, bread. It's comforting, it's versatile, and it's something many seniors rely on for quick and easy meals. But here's a surprise. Putting your loaf of bread in the fridge isn't keeping it fresh. It's actually ruining it. The reason? It all comes down to a little science trick called retrogradation. That's just a fancy term for what happens when the starches in bread start to harden and crystallize in cold temperatures. And this process kicks in almost right away, not days later. So instead of preserving your bread, the fridge makes it go stale even faster. You might not see the change at first, but you'll definitely taste it. That soft, fluffy slice turns dry, tough, and crumbly, making your morning toast a struggle and your sandwiches a sad experience. Bottom line, bread belongs in a bread box or a cool, dry pantry, not the fridge. If you really want to make it last, pop it in the freezer instead and toast slices as needed. But it gets even worse. When bread loses moisture in the fridge, it sets the stage for mold to grow once you take it back out. Mold spores thrive in the damp, uneven moisture that forms during refrigeration and reheating. And moldy bread isn't just unpleasant, it can actually be dangerous. Some molds produce mycotoxins, toxic compounds that can cause serious health problems, especially for older adults with weaker immune systems. So if you're trying to make your bread last longer, the freezer is a way better option. It stops mold growth and staling in their tracks without wrecking the texture. Just slice the loaf first so you can grab what you need without defrosting the whole thing. But the fridge, that's a one-way ticket to stale, moldy bread and potential health risks. Keep your loaf in a bread box or a sealed container at room temperature if you plan to eat it within a few days. For anything longer, freeze it. Don't let the cold steal the freshness or your health right out of your daily bread. Number 7, onions. You might be surprised to see onions on this list, but keeping them in the fridge is actually a common mistake that can cause some serious issues. Onions come with a natural protective skin that helps lock in moisture, keep their flavor intact, and maintain their firmness. But when you stick them in the fridge, that delicate balance gets totally disrupted. In the cold, humid environment of the fridge, onions absorb moisture faster, especially once they've been cut. This leads to a mushy texture, a bad taste, and in many cases, mold growth. But that's not all. Onions are strong smelling, and when kept in the fridge, they release sulfur compounds. Not only do these break down more quickly, but they can also leak into nearby foods, making everything else in your fridge smell like onions. So, to keep your onions fresh and flavorful, store them in a cool, dry place outside the fridge. And if you've already cut one, be sure to use it quickly or keep it in a sealed container to prevent odor and moisture problems. Ever notice that your butter or fruit tastes strangely like onions? It's not your imagination. The fridge is to blame. It acts like a sponge, soaking up those strong onion odors and transferring them to everything nearby. But that's not all. There's another hidden danger: bacteria. Even if you cover a sliced onion and stick it in the fridge, it can quickly become a breeding ground for harmful bacteria. While some myths claim onions absorb toxins, that's not scientifically true. It's definitely true that improperly stored onions, especially when exposed to moisture, can harbor germs. For whole onions, the best place to store them is in a dry, dark, and well-ventilated spot, like a pantry. As for cut onions, you can refrigerate them, but only if they're sealed tightly, and you should use them within a day or two. But keeping whole onions in the fridge? That's a surefire way to cause spoilage, lose nutrients, and turn your fridge into a smelly mess of onion-flavored surprises. Number 6, tomatoes. Tomatoes are one of the most misunderstood foods when it comes to refrigeration. A lot of people think popping them in the fridge will keep them fresh longer, but here's the truth. Cold temperatures are actually terrible for tomatoes, both in flavor and texture. Tomatoes are tropical fruits, and they really don't like the cold. When you put them in the fridge, the cold air messes with their natural enzymes, stopping the ripening process. And that ripening is what gives tomatoes their delicious flavor. Without it, you're left with a watery, bland, and mealy fruit that doesn't taste like much of anything. To get the best out of your tomatoes, store them at room temperature, away from direct sunlight. That way, they can ripen naturally and keep their full flavor and texture. And let's talk about the texture. Tomatoes kept in the fridge lose their firmness and become a soft, rubbery mess. That satisfying bite and juicy burst you're used to from a fresh tomato? Gone. But it's not just the taste you're sacrificing, there's also the nutritional side to consider. Tomatoes are packed with vitamin C, but this important nutrient breaks down much faster when kept in cold storage. So not only are you losing flavor, but you're also losing out on those health benefits. Even the skin takes a hit, wrinkling and shriveling up when it's exposed to cold for too long. It makes the tomato look old and unappetizing, even if it's still technically fresh inside. If you've ever sliced into a tomato and found it watery or lackluster, it's probably been chilled. Keep your tomatoes at room temperature, and they'll stay firm, flavorful, and full of nutrients. The best way to store tomatoes is at room temperature, out of direct sunlight, and with the stem side down to help preserve moisture. If they're overripe, it's better to use them right away or cook them up. Don't make the mistake of tossing them in the fridge thinking you're helping. They'll only ripen faster and lose their flavor. Keep them cool and natural, and you'll get the best taste and texture every time. Number 5, garlic. Garlic is often hailed as a superfood, packed with sulfur compounds like allicin that support your immune system and even help lower blood pressure. But if you store garlic in the fridge, all those powerful benefits can quickly vanish, or worse, turn into something harmful. Whole bulbs of garlic are meant to last for weeks, even months at room temperature, as long as they're kept in a dry, cool, and well-ventilated spot. When you throw them in the fridge, the cold and moisture mess with garlic's natural preservation process. The cloves start to sprout too soon, which not only changes their taste, but also signals that their chemical structure is breaking down. That bold, flavorful punch turns into a bitter, rubbery mess. To keep garlic at its best, store it in a dry, cool place and never in the fridge. What's even worse is that once garlic starts sprouting, it loses much of its allicin, the key compound responsible for its health benefits. But here's the real scare. If you refrigerate garlic, especially if it's chopped or minced and stored in oil, it can turn into a breeding ground for Clostridium botulinum, the bacteria that causes botulism. This rare but extremely dangerous illness can lead to paralysis and even death if not treated quickly. The FDA has actually warned against storing garlic in oil without proper acidification or refrigeration. Yet many people unknowingly take this risk. Instead of sticking garlic in the fridge, store the whole bulb in a mesh bag or basket in your pantry. And if you need to store chopped garlic, use it within a day or two, and keep it in a vinegar or lemon juice base to reduce the risk of bacteria. Don't let the fridge strip garlic of its health benefits or turn it into a hidden danger in your meals. Number 4, coffee. Believe it or not, coffee makes this list for a very good reason. Coffee beans and grounds are super sensitive to moisture, odors, and light. So while you might think refrigerating them will keep them fresh, you're actually doing the opposite. Coffee is hygroscopic, which means it absorbs moisture and smells from its surroundings like a sponge. Inside the fridge, surrounded by fruits, vegetables, and leftovers, your coffee starts soaking up those strong odors and flavors. The result? A cup of coffee that tastes dull, bitter, or just plain off, ruining the rich flavor profile of your beans. To keep your coffee at its best, store it in an airtight container in a cool, dark place, away from the fridge. That way you can enjoy the full, delicious flavor with every brew. But it's not just about flavor. Moisture is the real enemy here. When coffee is exposed to the cold air and humidity of the fridge, condensation forms on the beans or grounds every time the door opens and closes. This leads to clumping, premature staling, and the breakdown of the essential oils that give coffee its rich aroma and health benefits, like chlorogenic acids. These acids are antioxidants that support heart and brain health, but they break down much faster in cold, damp conditions. Over time, refrigerated coffee not only loses its flavor, but also its potential health benefits. What's worse, damp coffee grounds can grow mold, especially if they're stored in a non-airtight container. So instead of refrigerating, store your coffee in an opaque, airtight container at room temperature in a dark cabinet. This keeps your coffee fresh, flavorful, and safe to enjoy with every cup. Number 3, honey. This one might really surprise you. Honey is sweet, thick, golden, and seems like it belongs anywhere, even in the fridge. But storing honey in the refrigerator is actually one of the worst things you can do. In fact, refrigerating honey doesn't just ruin its texture, it completely reverses the natural preservation process that makes honey one of the few foods that never spoils on its own. When you put honey in the fridge, the cold causes it to crystallize quickly. This means it turns grainy, hard, and nearly impossible to scoop or spread. You might think it's just a texture change, but it's more than that. The crystallization process traps air pockets, and when you open and close the container, moisture can slip in. And moisture is honey's worst enemy. It can lead to fermentation, giving your honey a sour taste and smell. So keep your honey at room temperature in a tightly sealed container. This way you'll keep it smooth, sweet, and ready to enjoy without any of the unwanted side effects. Even worse, that moisture invites microbial growth. Honey typically resists this thanks to its low water content and high acidity. But when stored improperly, its natural defenses weaken. The cold also slows down the enzymes in honey that give it its antibacterial properties. So refrigerating honey doesn't just affect its texture, it can actually make it less healthy over time. The best way to store honey is in a tightly sealed jar, kept in a pantry or cupboard, away from sunlight and extreme heat. This way it keeps its smooth texture, natural flavor, and all the healing properties that make honey a time-tested remedy. Number 2, bananas. Bananas are one of the most popular fruits in the world, especially for seniors who rely on them for their potassium content and easy digestibility. But refrigerating bananas is one of the worst things you can do to them. Bananas are tropical fruits, and their internal chemistry is designed for warm environments. When you stick them in the fridge, especially before they're fully ripe, the cold stops the enzymes that drive the ripening process. This means your bananas may never ripen properly. They'll stay hard, taste bland, and worst of all, their skin will quickly turn a dull gray or black. To keep your bananas at their best, store them at room temperature, away from direct sunlight, and let them ripen naturally. This way, they'll stay sweet, soft, and full of flavor. This discoloration isn't just unappealing, it's a sign that cold injury has occurred. Underneath that blackened skin, the banana often turns mushy in odd patches and develops a weird metallic taste. But it's not just about looks and flavor. Refrigeration also damages the natural antioxidants found in bananas, like dopamine and catechins, which are crucial for brain health and reducing oxidative stress in aging cells. For seniors, these compounds are especially important. So, putting bananas in the fridge can take away those benefits without anyone even noticing. Even worse, if the banana is already overripe when you put it in the fridge, moisture builds up inside the peel, creating the perfect environment for mold, especially around the stem area. So instead of extending shelf life, you're actually risking mold exposure. Bananas should be kept at room temperature, ideally hanging or in a fruit bowl where air can circulate around them. If you have too many ripe bananas, you can freeze them peeled and stored in a container for smoothies or baking later. But please don't refrigerate them hoping they'll last longer. You'll end up with fruit that's lost its nutrients, texture, and purpose. Number 1, olive oil. The most dangerous food to refrigerate, especially for seniors, is olive oil. It's a staple in many kitchens because of its heart-healthy benefits and versatile uses. But when olive oil is stored in the fridge, it undergoes a process called solidification, where the fatty acids crystallize, causing the oil to become cloudy and partially solid. While this physical change isn't harmful on its own, the real problem comes from the repeated temperature shifts. Every time you take the oil in and out of the fridge, it stresses the chemical structure, speeding up oxidation. This can create harmful free radicals and reduce the oil's beneficial antioxidants. Instead of helping your heart, these changes can lead to inflammation, exactly what seniors want to avoid. To keep your olive oil fresh and healthy, store it in a cool, dark place, away from heat and light, yes, but not in the fridge. This ensures it retains its heart-healthy benefits and doesn't turn into something harmful. What's particularly concerning are studies showing that these temperature-stressed oils may contribute to increased joint inflammation and digestive issues, conditions that are already common in many older adults. The solidification also makes olive oil harder to pour, which can lead to spills or overuse, adding unnecessary calories to a senior's diet. Beyond the health risks, the flavor takes a big hit. Refrigerated olive oil loses its distinctive fruity, peppery notes, making it much less enjoyable, especially in Mediterranean-style diets that are so beneficial for heart health. Instead, store olive oil in a dark glass bottle or metal container in a cool cabinet, away from heat sources like the stove. When stored properly, high-quality olive oil will keep its health benefits and flavor for up to 2 years from bottling. So, these were the 9 foods you should never refrigerate. A good first step is to reorganize your kitchen based on food type. Keep tropical fruits like bananas and avocados out of the fridge until they're perfectly ripe. Store potatoes and onions in cool, dark places. Avoid cold and moist areas. Bread should stay at room temperature or in the freezer, but never in the fridge. Your honey belongs in the pantry, and your coffee should be stored in an airtight container in a dark cupboard. Garlic and tomatoes, treat them like the natural, powerful ingredients they are, and store them wisely to preserve their flavor and health benefits. Now we want to hear from you. Have you been refrigerating any of these foods without realizing the risks? What changes will you make starting right now? Share your experiences and thoughts with us in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching.